What is good, everybody? Welcome to another Passion Traveler video. And today I wanted to make I wanted to make this video. It's kind of like my background story, how pretty much I've always been blackpil. I've always been, I'm not going to say I had like a miserable lifestyle. I just had like a particular weird, unique lifestyle compared to others of my classmates, even inside the religion. My life has always been very extremely weird. So technically, like taking the black pill wasn't even that difficult for me because there was nothing like new today. Like my life has always been full of weird scenarios that I could not even explain. So let me get started. So I might do another explanation, another round of explaining the type of religion that I had to go through. It was not because it was by choice or because I wanted to be there. You were just brainwashed. You were born in it. So basically, when you're born into typical indoctrination, it's a very difficult task to leave because they use everything against you. If you ever want to like disobey or leave the religion, you're free to do so, but there's a lot of consequences even if you become a baptized member. I'm not going to make it too long. You guys can look up the information. Like, I just don't really feel like talking about the religion because I don't really think you guys care, but so you can guys fully comprehend where I'm coming from. So technically, Jehovah's Witnesses, it's a global religion. It's technically in a lot of countries of the world. Like, they're in the West, they're in the East, they're in Africa. They pretty much now dominate Africa, South America, Central America. They're not as fluent as they used to be in the United States. In Southeast Asia as well. Like, I know they're getting banned in Russia, Norway. Western countries that have a higher education for its residents are not particularly falling for this trap. So their biggest target are the ones who are completely ignorant, and when it comes to people that didn't have access to a higher education, or just in plain simple, they didn't have a first world education. If you guys get the point. So technically, those are who they target most, and those are the ones who become new memberships for this particular religion. But anyway, everybody, if you guys already know, they knock on your doors every Saturday morning, or you see them outside their stores with their little cards. They're doing this like low IQ stuff, which I do consider it low IQ because they're just wasting time. They're not going to convince a lot of people with their propaganda. Second of all, that was basically my life. Monday through Friday, I would go to school. I had homework from school, then I had homework from the religion. I had to live by this protocol or these typical rules. Rule number one is you're going to behave, you're going to follow the rules of the house, typical family structure rules, and then you have extra included rules that was part of the religion. So if I wanted access to like a phone or internet, it was a monitor. I couldn't really have a lot of, opportunities to get, numbers from girls, even if I wanted to. I didn't have a particular, opportunity. Like, I didn't have enough money to buy my own cell phone or my own data. Even when I started working, you don't get paid much, and you gotta really, and this is like the early 2009, 2010, and you were still like, smartphones were still a brand new thing, and they were still not as popular as they are now. So pretty much a lot of the times, a lot of people that were my age at the time, they got like these prepaid phones. It's because they had like a second job, but you get the point. So obviously they didn't want me to get access to pornography or start talking to random strangers. This religion makes a false narrative of the world. If you're not part of this religion, then they like to paint like the world as influenced by the devil. There's this it's kind of like Sodom and Gomorrah version, how they like to explain everything. They try to scare their members. They want you to feel like you're privileged to be in this godly, like this particular wonderful paradise earth, and you name it. So the reason I call it black pill in my lifestyle, it's basically, I was kind of already born into it. And it never really convinced me. I never really believed the doctrine. It's just I was like, the brainwashing was very difficult to wash off until I was like already in college. But basically, 2010s, 2013s, those were the years that I was in high school, because I ended up graduating in 2013. The first black pill that I received at the beginning was when I was, actually having very good grades. So I was actually really not just performing and trying to have a good attendance. I was actually trying to demonstrate that I had the capabilities for this particular career, which I already started it now, but I wish I could have started a lot sooner. My mom was kind of, I would guess she was a little bit scared that I was not taking the religion fully serious, because she did believe at one time that the world was ending. Because this religion is a doomsday cult. They believe that the end of the world is coming anytime soon. So if you're not a converter, you're going to get, obviously you're going to get killed or just eliminated. Very low IQ stuff. Like, pretty much that's the beliefs of this witness. That's why they preach door to door and bother people at Saturday mornings. That was another black pill for me. So basically, when like I was going back to my first black pill, the career that I always wanted to, it was discouraged. My mom was really concerned about where I was heading to. She thought I was not really focusing on the religion part. Because if you don't demonstrate any particular ambition for the religion, because you're giving options inside the religion as a career, they kind of see you as you're excluding yourself out of the religion. Oh, man. Kind of hate talking about this, because I know it's kind of boring for you guys, because you might, it's, you have to give you an understanding what I had to go through. So technically, I had to talk to, so another thing about this religion, you don't have like local pastors. How it all works in this organization is, like I said, it's a global organization. It's a religion, it's a cult. They have high leaders that are like in control of this religion. It's kind of like an aluminum scam, pyramid scheme, whatever you want to call it. So you have your pyramid, you have your higher ranks. The higher ranks, when they come in, it's kind of like the pyramid scheme. You have your guy that visits every branch of the U.S. and they try to motivate you. And if they see someone who is very dedicated, then they'll start giving you specific ranks. So basically, not to make it short, the people that you guys consider pastors, these are elders. That's what they call them. And so obviously there are a few selected members. You have to you have to have requirements, and you have to also be recommended. So typical low IQ stuff in my part. But man, they pissed me off, because they called me one time and they were asking me that I think my mom might have said something that. Also, she wanted like these typical douchebags. They're all douchebags in my own opinion, because they're arrogant and they believe because obviously this is like a particular religion that attracts narcissistic individuals. So I feel like they always had that, because they're given power. When you're like indoctrinated, you're a serving of the other leaders. But anyway. So they give me, a talk that, you're a 15 years old passion traveler. Anyway, you're not going to, it's kind of like they already pre-designed my life, and that's how it kind of was going to be. They're like, passion traveler, you're already black pill. Why even strive to better yourself? That's not what they say, I'm just, being sarcastic. But technically they're like, well, the end of the world is coming. What is the particular motive of you going to college instead of serving your true God or your whatever? And I'm like, well, I still want to serve God. It's just I do have ambitions. I do have this particular interest in this career. I was told I was supposed to be studying something that I had a passion for. They're like, you're not wrong, but that's for the world. You're in God's world. God's world is about to be here at any minute. Would you rather have eternal life, because that's what they believe, or would you rather serve, Satan's world? Because I used to hate those low IQ typical phrases. Would you want to serve Satan's world and not make it into paradise earth? And I'm like, in my head, I couldn't really contradict. Once you contradict them, you're pretty much in trouble. And specifically, if you're already baptized, which I was persuaded to get baptized, because that was like the only religion that I knew, and that was like part of the family culture. So like I had to technically you know, I had to make an allegiance that this was like my, like kind of like a country, and also like the only thing I look forward to is becoming a like a low IQ Serbian, because this religion does have a lot of low IQ individuals, and that's why I'm not trying to be arrogant. I'm not trying to be like a dick about it. It's you kind of have to go in there and see it for yourselves. But anyway, so basically, I had to make an oath because I was already baptized. I was given a talk, and they try to like throw in Bible verses at you, like if you're some low, unintelligent, creature that does not comprehend anything. So you have to be backed by the Bible. That's how it was. And they're like, and they used to use this very dumb phrase, like, well, in Satan's world, it's not going to last forever. And the example that they use is, why would you invest on a bank? They use a lot of metaphors. Like, why would you want to invest on a particular bank that's going to bankrupt? Your money's going to be gone. And that's how they like to compare to the world, Satan's world, which is, outside of the religion. Afterwards, I didn't want to like get shunned or be considered as a bad association, because if you start to demonstrate that you have more love for the world instead of the religion, then you're gonna get a bad reputation, and you're gonna lose everything. You might lose your friends, and so that's why it was hard for me to like do other things, which I'll get to that in a minute. So that was the biggest black pills. I could not pursue my career passion. It was unfortunate. So the only options that I had left, if the world, Saints were still was, to survive towards the 2020s, technically as I'm speaking now, it's 2026. It was either a trade skill or like small medical careers. After seeing all those options, I was extremely like depressed. Like, I couldn't believe that was my only option. Or work at where I do now, because that's, and it's not even bad, because it's like an entrepreneurial opportunity, not like a subhuman job. But anyway, so you're just there, you're thinking about like, holy cow, so my next couple of years in high school is just get over high school, because obviously it's the law, not pursue anything, not have any ambition. And yeah, there's a couple members that don't really listen to, or they have higher IQ parents that kind of tell them not to really fall in line with the religion. Every family is unique. Like I would say, they target parents who didn't have any access to like high school or any type of education that kind of opens up your mind. They look for the most ignorant individuals so they can convert them. So I was disappointed. Like the 9th grade, I got okay grades. I lost all the ambition. I started to fall into this particular depression. Like, I couldn't believe that. I thought it was kind of bogus, but like I've said, when you're brainwashed, you're guilt tripped, that you're selfish. You're not. Technically, this religion is a very good manipulator. They start to guilt trip all their members. If you have ambitions for the Satan's world, then you're a bad person. I'm gonna make it simple. So that was black pill number 1, and black pill number 2, which you guys can already guess how this religion, instructs their members. You're not allowed to date outside of the religion. And if you do it, you have, you don't have to, but they're going to guilt trip you that you're lying to God, or God is seeing you, so everything will come in the light. Technically, how it works, so you're not supposed to date anybody outside the religion. It's already considered a sin. If you're a baptized member, then you're going to have to really pick a choice. Go with the outside girl, go to Satan's world. Like, how they use, that's the, I want to keep repeating Satan's world, because that's how they try to like describe the world. Or you can be, spiritual, clean, holiness, whatever, marry someone from the religion. So pretty much, ever since I got high school, it was a very difficult task to not like a girl and have a crush or anything. It was it wasn't like something you could avoid. It's hormones. It's like, that's what I dislike about the religion. They try to like pursue their members to be fully like pure, but it's like very impossible to really like not having any particular thoughts in your mind, if you know what I mean. So all the girls, like the girl from the Inspire video of Babyloner, the girl that that's it, I couldn't win her over, but there was a lot of girls around her circle group. They were at least the better looking girls. I couldn't even pursue them. One, um, their religion guilt trips you. So, and here's another fun fact. There was other family members that were, see, this religion makes a lot of people narcissistic. There's a lot of jealousy. So if you're like doing better economically, because like I said, my parents, they might have fought for a moment, but they were not. One thing I do consider is if you have a good, at least if you have a decent IQ, a lot of people end up leaving this religion. The lower IQ individuals end up staying. Or there's people that prefer to stay there because they don't have nothing else to look forward to. Their life is pretty much end up gone anyway. What I mean gone, like they're already old enough, so there's nothing for them to really look forward to. So since my parents were entrepreneurs, we were doing a little better economically. Obviously, they could tell by the positions that we had. Like we were not rich or anything, but we at least had a little bit more than the other families. There was a jealousy going on, so they try to like make you feel bad for picking out materialistic things over guy. So they try to like be 100% judgmental. Even if technically a lot of the members, a lot of friends of mine, they were more luckier because they went to school with other members of the religion. But in my case, I had a lot of snitches from this religion that went to the same high school. A lot of my buddies, what they end up doing is they had like double lives. They had a secret girlfriend. As long as they were not caught and you don't confess, and everything should be okay. As long as technically the rules, don't get caught. Don't speak too much about what you do in school, and just be aware who's watching you. But in my case, I couldn't even do that because unfortunately I had a lot of snitches. And like I said, you're asking yourself, well, you should have just dated. Who cares if they end up snitching on you? Yeah, but if I get in trouble, I'm shunned for 6 months. You lose contact with family members. You don't have access to a lot of privileges anymore. So that was like I've said, that was my second black pill. Is like, holy cow, I couldn't even experience teen love. Even if I could have, let's say that the chances are a lot of these other, individuals didn't care. They had a secret life as well, because I never knew of it. I lacked the social skills. Like I was too lame for the females. Like the females saw me as a crazy individual. And remember a detail that I was mentioning, that we used to go out door to door. I live in a small town. And like I said, we're Hispanic, so we went to the Spanish congregation. So I was knocking on every Hispanic people's door. So everybody knew who I was. So they would see me as a crazy. They probably thought I was either crazy or low IQ or just lame, for believing in nonsense. So the girls found me unattractive. They saw me as this particular pathetic individual, if you want to call it in quote, call it whatever you want, because obviously I was a virgin in high school, which is, I don't care anymore. But, this is, this pathetic individual who believes in nonsense, believes in fairy tales. What good does it do for a girl to date me? So, and I remember a girl did actually told me this when I was in college. Like, she was not a bad person. She became a friend of mine. But she ended up telling me what people really thought of me. And I'm like, you don't have to feel bad. I already know. That's why I'm no longer part of this, low IQ organization. But so no teen love, no career passion, and the most brutal black pill of all of them. Because this is your high school years. This is where you want to have a good memory, enjoy your youth years. There's no friends outside of the religion. And I'm going to include all in the same, because you can have your friends after, and if you have interest in sports or anything related to after school curricular activities, that's where a lot of people make their friends, right? And I couldn't even do that as well. That was considered inappropriate for the religion. They even consider competitiveness as something not good for the religion, because it makes you a bad person. I'm very low IQ, so this is what pisses me off. I couldn't believe why do we have to be part of this this organization? I'm not mad now, but I'm even laughing about it. I even told my mom, I can't believe we missed out on so much opportunity just because we thought we all did it for God, apparently. But anyway, that's what kind of killed me in high school. That's where I started to like just do do mediocre. Like yeah, like I passed all my class, I got all my credits, but I didn't really care for any particular grade as long as I had a passing grade. Because even though I told my mom tried to like reclaim why I didn't perform well, why did I lost ambition, she thought I was lazy. I told her, you guys kept telling me, there's no need for it. There's no need for it. The end of the world is coming. I was brainwashed. So what good did it do to stress myself something that it was not going to last long? That's the way a lot of the members think. And that shit, this was brutal. Like no sports, no after school curricular activities that could have, put you in a very good, college or university. And so I ended up graduating with very little friends. I only had like one or two friends, and it was basically because we had something in common interest. If it wasn't for that, I would have like probably been in a worse state. And that's why it gives the better explanation why I never had any like success with specifically with Hispanic girls. Like let's be real. Hispanic girls like the Chicano style individuals. Well, back in the day, I don't know about now. Like I don't know what's the new, popular. I don't know what's popular now because I don't keep update with social media anymore. I stay away from it. So technically, what I remember, I was nerdy. I was lame. I dressed very different. I had like a Christian haircut. That's how I like to describe it. Polo shirt and jeans. No, I had no flavor or nothing. So basically, that's why I never had any success dating in the Hispanic girl. That's why the Hispanic girl made a fool out of me by giving me her fake phone number, and when she, which I don't even know why. You could have just said no. But anyway, so I ended up graduating. Like I've said in other videos before, I graduated. Nothing to be proud of because I just got basically your diploma comes in the mail. You just get like a little nice, which I forget the name of it. It's like, somewhere you can place your diploma, like a little fancy thing. I just had my cape and gown. I walk up in the stage, crickets, nobody was cheering for me. I only had like my family, like my parents and my siblings and one friend. Like he's still a friend of mine till today. And that was pretty much it. And then, everybody had everybody supporting them. They were all talking about parties. They did a lot of fun stuff. I missed out. That was another blackpil as well. I couldn't believe that I missed out. Like I couldn't even do none of the fun things that us other teenagers. So I was like, okay, whatever. And you guys already know. Like I went out to eat, and I had it. The only ones that came out to give me their support, but in reality, just to give me the talk, was an elder and his wife. Like I went to the restaurant, just the parents and the siblings, the pastor and his wife. So obviously the only good thing about it was the gifts. That was pretty much it. I'm not gonna lie, I only got money, which that was pretty much the only cool part. So basically, I just got my meal. And another kind of funny part, what I remember from that particular graduation dinner, was we were at the restaurant. There was another classmate that I never talked to her, but she knew who I was. And she was just listening to the conversation. She thought I was like crazy as well. Because everybody's seen about graduating, having the time of their life, going to college, getting a career, living the life. All what I got in return, or basically the motivation, is serve God, live as simple as you can. What I mean simple is live as poor as you can, so you can serve the God and get the rest of your money to the organization. You're going to do this and that. And the girl was looking at us, and she was like probably astonished of like, why would I want a life like that? But obviously they're not going to comprehend. And so that's how, like, now that I think of it, I've always been blackpil. It's like, I think that's why it never really like hurt me to accept the real truth. And on another fun fact, so let's say that I tried to date girls before I made a full decision if I wanted to become like fully serving into the organization, because I was not having any luck outside, because I didn't know what to do with my life, and I was just working. I was unhappy, and I decided probably it was time for me to dedicate to God. Probably that's where I was going to find the answers, because that's the only thing I knew. So I remember I was trying to date girls outside of the religion secretly, and none of them really worked out. I just got played. So I went to the religion. I did well for 2 years. So I can go more into fully detail. You guys can kind of understand how this religion operates. So basically, when I first, the girl that I talked about in the last video, it's the same girl that I'm going to speak about again, but in more detail. So when we first conversated, obviously she did ask for my information because she wanted to make sure I was not like a bad association or a bad member. Because obviously, so the only like good side about this religion, let's say you become a full dedicated member, you do end up getting some higher ranks. And let's say that you're not going to make a lot of money, but you're kind of like taken care of by this religion for a minute. Like you're not going to have luxuries, but you at least have somewhere to stay, somewhere to eat. And then if you go to their installations are actually very nice. You guys should look it up. They're like billions of dollars they invested into this installation. Only like few selected members are picked because they're considered exemplaries or considered worthy of their time to go live with them. So I had to demonstrate I was a good Serbian. I had, I was climbing up the ranks. You don't get paid, but you just have to wait for the right moment to like, kind of like how they, to get a specific role that's going to make you popular. And they'd say that it's a boring religion, but if you become a higher rank, if you surpass as an elder or a pastor, you start to get like specific roles. You go to a special school that's like, it's kind of like school church. Then you're like selected to start like visiting other districts because, like I said, it's a very big religion. They have a lot of congregations around the U.S. So you start like doing a lot of traveling, believe it or not. So I was trying to like demonstrate to this girl that I found that I was a good member, and I still got played. She didn't care for that. She acted like she did, but she ended up going with the, like I said, she liked the girl that, actually she liked the guy that was my ex-friend because he was more of a bum, but he was charismatic. So that was like another black pill. I'm like, okay, I'm not even popular in the religion. What is out there for me? Like, what am I even doing here? That's when I got a lot of disappointments. All the girls didn't even like me. I was unpopular for this, lame religion. First of all, I sacrificed my high school years. I missed out some opportunities to date some girls that were really like looking forward to date me in high school. And I thought I was going to be rewarded by the religion, and I thought I was going to, because I started doing really well. Like I started fully becoming a full dedicated member. And the girl that I fully got a chance to, she played me. She used me kind of for consolation, as a consolation prize. So that's when I decided, I had enough. Like I was already depressed. I was already disappointed, and like I was already like I was at the first steps of the black pill. And this was like around 2016, 2017. So I ended up leaving this religion for a minute because I just needed a break. And then so I went back to college. I went full dedication to college. Like I was actually getting good grades. Since I paid attention, I took a lot of notes in psychology. That's how I ended up waking up and like kind of excluding myself. And that's when I said I don't want to be part of this BS anymore. I left it. I didn't want to go back to it. Process 2 of what made me more black pill was, now that I can like go back in history and even to the current time at the time, I was noticing the mistreatment of the ugly guys. So this is a story I haven't really told anyone because I got to make sure that none of the people that I know about this channel. So right now they don't know anything about what is a black pill. The only reason I had to like keep this story out of the scenery is because there's only one member out of all our friend groups that kind of is like getting closer to black pills. I got to be extremely careful. I explained this story. So my friend, even like the friend groups that I still had preserved, like they were like half from school and half from church, but I only have like, basically I only had one friend from high school and the rest were from the religion. Even then, these were religious kids that I grew up with. They still discriminated the ugly ones. They discriminated the undesirables, the sub-5s. Like I've said, this religion does attract a lot of sub-5s. A lot of sub-5s do have this, they have high hopes that they're going to find someone in their religion because they're probably defeated. But even then, they still got ridiculed. They still got made fun of. And that's what made me like question everything. And so this was like around 2018, 2019, 2020 came, 2021. That's when I got a little bit of a glimpse of like the red pill. And then 22, 23, 24, you know, you guys can make the, you know, can already guess. MGTOW came, but I was not fully like convinced of MGTOW. But I discovered the black pill. After discovering the black pill, that was like the coffin in the nail that made me, you know, turn this way. Was not because I wanted to be better. It makes a lot of sense now. Everything that I experienced in high school in the religion and other things that I remember now in the religion, they always ridicule these sub fives. Sub fives were always ridiculed by the females. In a little detail, so when you're a full member, and like I mentioned, bro, you have to take them out, you have to preach, you have to convert other people. You design a group for that particular day, and the only ones who can be in charge are like the males, unless if there happens to be no male, then they kind of have to like design one lady that is qualified. So when that didn't work in the mornings, I had to do this stupid, you know, little task of taking out a group to, you know, to go preach out to door and find new converters, you know. So you can imagine I was surrounded by a lot of females, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing. All these stories, how they were making fun of other females, other males, and they even mentioned something that really opened up my eyes. Was this particular family? I'm not going to say too much detail, but the guy was a very nice individual. Like even me, I can tell like the wife didn't marry him for anything besides money, because I think the guy had like a specific career. I think he was like a lawyer, so he had like a little bit of a stash. I do remember they were even like making assumptions that, because obviously the wife was pretty, she was like this like extremely white passing Latina girl, and also very curvy, and the guy, he was kind of like a tall sub five, and he had like a little bit of a disease, you know, which I'm not going to say because I want to keep this very anonymous. Like the guy is a very nice guy, and I really hope he's doing well. They were making fun of that couple, and they were mentioning like technically the lady only married the guy for money or for interest, and these are people that they're supposed to have your back. They're your brothers and sisters, and they call themselves spiritual brothers. So I'm like, wait a minute, if this is not even like a safe zone for sub fives for our exes, male, what good does it do for me to stay here? I already wasted enough. Now I was getting already pissed, and I had a big argument with my parents because they were asking me like I was putting too much, you know, I was like taking everything too hard. I'm like, no, it's just I don't feel like this is any different from the outside world. So I end up, like I said, I end up leaving it. And everybody in my family did. Everybody kind of acknowledged that in my family that it's a low IQ / it's a scam religion. So after being astonished, everything that I went through, that's why when I discovered blackpil, I can correlate everything what I experienced in life. I'm like, there's nothing false about it. Like, exes, males, sub fives do get the worst treatment just because the way they look. Even if they're not being mistreated, they get ridiculed behind the scenes, you know. And another thing is, you know, this is why I agree with the beta male and beta male and Batman is women and religion never mix. Every time that I notice a girl from my former religion, they all had double lives. They all did whatever they wanted to. If they were never caught, they end up, you know, none of them were ever, you know, zero count. All of them had a body count when they got married to a full. So basically, they do leave the religion for a minute because they know they're female. They know they have it a little bit easier. So they end up leaving the religion, and then when they come back, they get praised more than the male. The male gets a horrible treatment, believe it or not. And I'm not saying like females don't suffer. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not going to go too much detail, but basically what I remember is a lot of these girls got in trouble for having relationships before marriage, and they did it with dudes who were not part of the religion. And when they go back, because their life is already they already exceeded their pastime, they're getting older. They end up finding out that in this religion, that's where all the simps are. Even if the guy is a good guy, he is a simp because that's how he's instructed to be. And if they're like good-looking women, a lot of these guys, even if they are considered spiritual and good man, they end up falling for it because it obviously is an attractive girl. I'm not saying that all of them. Sometimes they're encouraged not to date them because they have a horrible past. But a lot of guys end up falling for it. Let's be honest. Who could not resist a beautiful girl? And these are the ones who were caught, but there's a lot of them that I knew that they were never caught. And they end up never, because when you make a sin, if you're baptized, you're guilt tripped, you have to confess, or else they keep trying to guilt trip you into believing that God is watching and He's going to let the light out, even if He wants to or not. So that's how people end up confessing. But the ones that are a little bit higher IQ, they know they've never been caught, so they have their fun outside of the religion. And once they come back, they they end up finding the sin. Because I even know one particular case that I saw. When I used to go to high school, there was 2 girls that I knew. She slept around, never caught, because I didn't care. At the time, I was like I said, there was phases where I didn't care anymore. I just didn't care. I didn't care to snitch or whatever. I never wanted to do that anyway, so I thought that was kind of stupid. She slept around. She had I'm not judging her, but she had her time of her life in high school. She got the best treatment. And she was always praised, and the only downside of her is a lot of the girls hated her, but because she was Stacy, Latina girl, and she came from the same religion. She married someone from the religion, and he never knew. I don't even think he knows her past, but she kept it, in secret. But that's not my job to, keep track on what they do with their life. But anyway, so I just wanted to make this story. I think you guys kind of, I don't know if this story makes sense or not. The reason I kind of sound even different from other black pillars is because I didn't have a normal, typical life. My life was already instructed on how to behave, how to act, what to say, what not to say, what to believe and what not to believe. I had a black and white way of indoctrination. It was them versus us. So that's what made me very black pill. Even till this day, it's I think I was just born with this, because a lot of people could not fully comprehend what we all had to go through as this religion. Now, I'm not trying to be a victim. All what I'm saying is, I'm not going to feel petty for myself, because what I missed, that's already in the past. I can do nothing about it. I just have to live with it. And there's nothing good it does to me to just, think about the past, because what can I do? I cannot even go back. So the only thing I did for me is I just restarted my life as much as I could. It's a little bit difficult now because the economy is not the same as what it used to be back in the early 2000s. That's something that makes me sad, is I was just remembering also the 2010s, how things were a little bit better. Even though we survived the 2008 crash, I remember when everything got better, it was still accessible. You can have your phone, you can have, afford a lot of things. But unfortunate, I was so indoctrinated that I didn't even enjoy none of these particular privileges from the last decade. But that's the story. I think that gives you a full more description of the Passion Traveler, why he is the way he is. Maybe if you guys thought I was a little bit unique. And that's probably why I don't even have a lot of dating stories, or even the ones that I already explained. They're not as, let's say, as full detail as Babylon Loner or Dumur Tehana. I don't know how you guys call them, but shout outs to Babylon Loner. It's because I couldn't really do much for myself, and even if I did try, so I do remember I was trying to spit some game in high school, and there's this girl, even though she had nothing to do with the religion, she would ridicule me or try to guilt trip me, I thought you're not supposed to be dating because of your religion. I'm like, God damn, can you mind your own business? But and this girl, I don't even know what was her deal with me. She would try to make rumors that I was not being a good, I was not a good member of the religion, even though she had nothing to do with it. So, alright guys, I'm going to wrap it up. I think I already talked enough. I feel like this video might be extremely boring because it's not a very popular black pill video like the others, but I don't know if it makes sense or not. I'm not trying to make it boring or long, because I don't think you guys really I understand you guys don't even care for the religion, or if you guys do, then awesome or not, but you know, there you have it, guys. I'm done for now. So please get the like, subscription. It does really help me out. You know, making videos does, you know, give me a little bit of a better day, because I am like talking to someone, even if it's anonymous. It is therapeutic for me. Like it does bring a little bit of I don't know, it just makes you feel a little bit better. You get things out of your chest. You know, it's not easy to just vent somewhere. So all right, guys, that's it. I'm done. Have a good day and peace out.